The Holy Gospel according to Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to him and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." Then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." When the 10 heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. So Jesus called them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. This morning, we have an interesting story. We have James and John, 2 individuals who are part of Jesus' inner circle. They are the closest to Jesus and have seen things, have been included in things that others haven't. And so, if we think of them in terms of circles of proximity to Jesus, at the center we have Jesus. On the outside, we have our masses. Then there are the crowds. Then we get a little smaller and we get the disciples. And then we have our inner circle, Peter, James, and John. So when James and John approach Jesus, in many ways, it makes sense that they're going to be asking who will be on your left and right. They want to continue to be close to Jesus, but is that all that they want? And the fact that it says, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." Well, this suggests that they're asking for a little more. And so Jesus responds with a really important question. What do you want? This question is what I want us to think about today. In Adult Sunday School, we've been talking about what our intention is every time we enter the space. Why are we here? What do you want? It seems like such a basic question, but I would like to suggest that this is the most piercing, decisive, and penetrating question that can be asked of us today. What do you want? It probes to the very depths of who we are. And in some ways, this is the first and maybe the most fundamental question of discipleship. When Jesus confronts James and John with this question, he peels back the layers of their true desires, their heart. And so in this whole exchange, Jesus is showing them who they are and trying to reorient them. Because they don't want to follow Jesus. They want to be in his political glory, to be close to power. They want to be seated at the right and the left, to be the second and the third position within the kingdom, because Jesus is King of Kings, Lord of Lords. And so in order for us to explore this further, I want to braid together 2 claims to help us lean into this question from Jesus. So let me lay them out, and then we'll dive deeper. And these are principles of human existence. The first is this: you are what you love. And the second one is probably a little more uncomfortable. You might not love what you think. So you are what you love, but you might not love what you think. So let's start with the first. In asking, what do you want, Jesus is seeking their heart. Because at the end of the day, human beings have been made by God to long and to desire and to love and to want. And for the scriptures, this all takes place in the heart. So when Jesus asked James and John, what do you want? He's asking, what do you desire and long for? What do you love? And their answer is telling. Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory. They want glory. to be placed in seats of honor. You are what you love. Now this raises the second principle. You are what you love, but you might not love what you think. Our friends James and John, when Jesus asked, what do you want? They believe they have the right want, the right answer, the right desire, the right love. That is what they think they want, what Jesus wants. But Jesus seizes them and confronts their desire to reveal that their love, their desires have reoriented to something way else. It's like they've missed the heart of the gospel. Because Jesus' desire and love is for God's desire and love. Which means Jesus does not want to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. James and John are wanting a place of honor and glory where they will be served, not serving. They were driven by something else. What Martin Luther King Jr. would call the drum major instinct. King speaks on this desire that we have to gain recognition for importance, our desire for attention, the desire to be first. And just like a drum major in the marching band, that person is keeping time, command, leading the band. They are distinct. You can't miss them as they flip and twirl a baton on the field. They lead the parade. The desire for attention, for distinction, is the basic drive of human life. This drum major instinct. We all have it, this drum major instinct, and we can't condemn James and John too quickly, because if we look honestly at ourselves, we discover our same desire for importance and recognition. That same desire to be first. The best in our jobs or a project. To get the best grade in the class and be praised for being the best. To get that thank you when we do something nice for someone that we didn't have to go out of our way to do. This instinct drives us in so many different ways in our lives. I've been thinking a lot also about the role that social media has in our lives. The many different ways in which we display ourselves to the world. What is the image I want to portray to people who are my friends and followers? Every time we post, we decide between what picture to put up, how many filters or edits to make it look better. What's the caption say about me? You are what you love. I mean, we even have influencers now who promote products and services, organizations, and find those with similar interests. All of these things make us feel important. The more likes that we get, the more followers that we have, the more reposts we receive. So we put out more and more and more. All of this is the drum major instinct. But let me get to the point of what Jesus is saying. He did not condemn James and John like we'd expect. He simply says, oh, you want to be first. You want to be great. You want to be important. You want to be significant. Well, you ought to be if you're going to be my disciple. You must be, but in a different way. And so I'm going to quote MLK here because he says it perfectly. Quote, Jesus said, yes, don't give up on this instinct. It's a good instinct if you use it right. It's a good instinct if you don't distort it and pervert it. Don't give it up. Keep feeling the need for being important. Keep feeling the need for being first. But I want you to be first in love. I want you to be first in moral excellence. I want you to be first in generosity. This is what I want you to do. End quote. And then Jesus transformed the situation by giving it a new definition of greatness. If you want to be important, if you want to be recognized, if you want to be great, that is wonderful, but you need to recognize whoever is greatest among you must be your servant. And this definition of greatness is something I truly love because it means that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to have the perfect house and the dog and the family to serve. You don't have to have 1 million followers to serve. You don't have to be a pastor or a preacher to serve. You don't have to have your life together to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love, and you can be that servant. You are what you love, but you may not love what you think. See, Jesus wants to dwell in our hearts, in our desires and our longings and our loves, to change the beat of the drum that we march to attend to and be cautious of all the ways that our loves and our longings might be steering us in a direction that's just off, that's askew, that's oriented wrongly. The drum major instinct can be used for good, but also evil. It can lead us to a feeling of superiority over others based off of society's definitions. It can lead us to a belief that we have power because of privilege, to believe that we are all equal even if we don't have equity. The drum major instinct can lead us far away from where our hearts ought to be. I think that's why worship is so important. As Christians, there is something vital to worship, something truly at stake. It is the beat to which we set our feet. When the people of God gather for worship, it is so much more than sitting in pews to sing a few songs. It's the living, breathing body of Christ present in this community. It's the vessel in which we greet God in the sharing of the peace to our neighbor and in the taste of bread and wine on our lips. To worship is to acknowledge God's activity in our lives. It's to welcome the reorientation of our hearts to the cross and the realization that we can't do it alone. This tactile, visceral, communal experience of Christian worship is how we learn again the story of God in Christ reconciling the world to himself. It's where we're reminded of who we truly follow. God is orienting our hearts towards the cross. The cross should be our drum major. It's why you see the cross when you come in, and it's why you see Jesus with open arms as you leave. All of these things happen in worship. They are our points of reference, pointing us in the right direction. So my friends, today I ask you, what do you want? So I'm going to close with another excerpt from MLK because it just hits home. For this was his final sermon before he was murdered, and so he actually talks about the end of life and what would be said at his funeral. Quote, "Yes, if you want to say that I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace, I was a drum major for righteousness, and all of the other shallow things will not matter. I won't have any money to leave behind. I won't have the fine and luxurious things of life to leave behind, but I just want to leave a committed life behind, and that's all I want to say. If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or song, if I can show somebody he's traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain. If I can do my duty as a Christian ought, if I can bring salvation to a world once wrought, if I can spread the message as the Master taught, then my living will not be in vain. Yes, Jesus, I want to be on your right or your left. Not in terms of some political kingdom or ambition. I just want to be there in love and in justice and in truth and in commitment.
Jesus.